can also record this stuff.
Where would it go?
Apparently, you can record and download.
Nice.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Twitch is live, and
I still don't see it on YouTube.
yeah, I don't
Oh, wait a
either.
minute.
Or do I just need to?
Even under live, it doesn't say it.
Yeah, interesting. I don't see it either.
Is that using Restream?
No, it's using. Well,
StreamYard's own.
just
whatever.
StreamYard's whatever they're doing. Oh, maybe it's because it's unlisted. I bet you that's why. If I change it to public, I'll bet you it comes up. Yep, that was it.
Okay.
So it's running now. So yeah. All right, cool. I got it. I get what happened there.
That makes sense.
Then, yeah. Okay. Duh. All right. So
cool. All right.
We'll get started. Yeah. Hey, welcome to the Dev Talk Show. It is March 24th, 2023. It's been a little while. Good to see you, Rich.
Good to see you too. Like, yeah, I didn't know when the last time we got together, but we saw, at least for a show like this, we Philly.net was a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
So it was good to see everybody in person again, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Philly.net is back for folks that kind of know us from both places. And I think we've had meetings maybe starting back in October and are starting to grow. More and more people coming. Code Camp scheduled for October, which of course everybody wants to go to. But today we're not at our normal time, and a lot of it is something we're working on. Is maybe we'll do some things at different times when we can all get together. And this was a chance that Rich and I could get together. And so what's everybody talking about right now, especially in software development? And I mean, everybody's talking about it in general. I'm seeing it headlines every day, but I feel like every day I am seeing the same topic for developers. And I'm just going to ask you what that is.
I
think you know what the answer is going to be.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with a snarky answer, but yeah, it's chat AIs and ChatGPT and all the different questions that are being asked of it, right?
When's it going to replace us, right?
Yeah.
When's it going to write code for us? So what we decided to do is we decided to challenge ChatGPT, like a lot of people do this stuff, but also use it as a way to see if, hey, maybe we can learn something. Is can we ask ChatGPT, this is the long story short, can we ask it to build a demo game program, just simple graphic thing to do. We're not going to have a full game or anything like that. And because I didn't know how to do this, I said, well, let's go one step further and let's use a game programming library that works in Linux, right? Because I've done a lot of stuff. People may even remember I used to do a lot of stuff on XNA way back in the day on Windows and even Windows Phone and Silverlight and stuff like that. So now it's like, well, I don't know how this works. So let's see, right? And we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna see what happens. So I'm gonna switch us over, and hopefully everybody can see that I've got my Windows desktop going. And just to say hi, we got a hi from Chops. Thank you for being here, Chops. So, hey, notifications pop up. That's great. That's super awesome. So what do I need to bring over? Well, first of all, we are going to, let me just make sure I log in real quick. Just for a little bit of fun, we're going to do this in Linux running. This happens to be Linux Mint. It happens to be 20.3. I think I installed it late last year. Sometime before I started this, I updated everything. I basically just had it, any kind of security updates or common library updates or whatever, just update that. And then I went ahead and kind of got us to a good starting point because we don't have as much time as we usually do on the Dev Talk Show. But I want to show you some of my early questions to ChatGPT because it surprised me. So here we are. Here's the infamous ChatGPT, which I'm going to make a little bit larger here so we can look at it. And I asked it, give me a complete bash script to install the .NET 6 SDK on Linux Mint. It happens to be Linux Mint XFCE. That's the desktop implementation 20.03. Then add to the script how to install the MonoGame.net project templates. So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about what that said?
I follow what you're trying to do. I've never done it before, but it'll be interesting to see what it comes back with.
Yeah. So just to, Linux Mint, why do I use Linux Mint? It's pretty, Linux Mint XFCE is pretty lightweight. It runs well in a VM, happen to be running in a VM right now. The MonoGame folks are these awesome folks that many years ago, these are folks who loved the XNA framework, which was a framework that you could use to build your own games and ship them for the Xbox 360. And there are some stories of people who did very well doing that. Mm-hmm. But that framework was discontinued, but people loved the framework, the API. They actually just loved how it works. So MonoGame is an implementation of it, but it has been taken so next level that it runs on different platforms like Android and iOS. It runs on Linux, it runs on Mac, it runs on Windows. And as they say here in their opening, that it has been used for successful games such as the one I'm going to pick out, Stardew Valley, which is a super successful game. And so I said, well, but how do you get started with it? And yes, there's documentation here. You can come here, getting started. This all works. Setting up your development environment for Linux. They say you've got to have .NET 6. So I asked ChatGPT, how do I install that? They say you're going to want the C# extension, which I've already installed. And then install these MonoGame templates. So here it's at the very end telling you how to install the MonoGame templates. Mm-hmm. When you look at the script, they put that in at the end. They say, don't forget, install the MonoGame templates. And this pattern, in getting the Microsoft package signing key and basically where the package is located and installing the SDK, that worked. I didn't know how long it would take for our purposes here. So I said, hey, I'm going to have that done ahead of time. And if I just say .NET list SDKs, then we can see that 60407 is installed. Hopefully that's pretty clear on. Okay, good. So in fact, I'll just clear that's right. I used to be able to clear that way. CLS, that takes me way back and it's not the correct command. So .NET 6 is here, and .NET, if I say .NET new -L, we can see that those MonoGame templates were installed. So I'm already pretty impressed.
Yeah.
If you want to install this on your own, you absolutely can. You go to .NET DOT-NET, and if you're in Linux and in a browser on Linux, it's going to detect that and it's going to say, hey, and send you straight to the instructions for .NET on Linux. And they're pretty similar instructions. They're almost identical. They weren't exactly identical, but that was already a good first step. I said, wow, okay, good start. That's a good start.
Definitely.
So if I sitting here, so I could open a browser here in Linux. I don't think I really need to. Let's go ahead and create a .NET MonoGame project, which it's kind of like, I'm sure you've done this a few times, Rich, where you just say like .NET new and you put the type of thing you're going to make. Maybe it's a console app, right? Maybe it's a Blazor app. But here, because we have these new templates. So I'm going to take this template called MG Desktop OGL. And why? Because I need an OpenGL implementation, cross-platform application, because I need it to run in Linux. I could also do other implementations. You can actually try to use the DirectX version, but I think you have to install Wine in Linux, and I haven't tried that. I figured this was a safer bet.
Yeah,
that was my take. So in the .NET command line, if you do a -O, you're basically telling it where you want it installed. And I actually don't want it installed here. What I want to do, I'm in my home directory or folder, or whatever you want to call it in Linux. But let me make a source folder real quick just to box stuff up under there. And then let's go .NET new desktop. No, it was MonoGame MG desktop OGL. Using OpenGL, and I'm going to call it my game. And what did I spell wrong here? MG. Oh, it's just desktop GL. Okay. All right. So it says, hey, I created one successfully. If I do a quick ls, first I got to go into source. Oh, I didn't move to source when I made that.
Uh-oh.
So whatever. So let's do it again. It doesn't have to be here. It doesn't have to be here. So say move there, and there it is. There's a game one CS, a proj file, CS proj, program CS. Kind of seems familiar. I'm going to go ahead and open Visual Studio
Code.
Visual Studio Code. Thank you. It is Visual Studio
Only because we're in Linux, and I'm sure a lot of people will be asking, how we do that?
How did you do that? Yeah. So, and then we'll make this a little bit bigger, and let's open up our game one. Cool. Awesome. You've got to do a .NET restore, and the C# extension is already asking me to do that. So I'm just going to let it do its thing. Shouldn't take too long. Now, for someone like me who has seen the XNA framework before, this is the file new project. So I see the 4 functions: initialize, load content, update, and draw, which basically means once it gets everything going, it's going to draw, and then it's going to update the world, and then it's going to draw and update. There's nothing really in this app other than clear the graphics device and put up the color cornflower blue. That's it. So when you run this, and again, we're running this in Linux Mint right now. So we're using .NET 6 cross-platform on Linux using Visual Studio Code just to have an editor. We didn't necessarily need code. And there it is. That's it. Going to get a blue screen, but a cornflower blue screen.
Yes.
Okay. Now.
Yes. Okay.
Now we got to go for. Now we're going to go for asking ChatGPT here. Now, I've tried this before, but let's say create a demo program using the XNA framework. Actually, let's say the MonoGame framework of a spinning 3D cube. There is something I want to specify here.
Okay.
Let me see how. Let me think about how. Okay. Use a.
What are you trying to? I mean, if it gives away the end, that's okay.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay. So here's what I'm doing. So in 3D programming, I think a lot of us from geometry would understand that like the polygon has vertices.
Sure.
In 3D programming, we use some terms like vertices have a position, they might have a color, they might have a texture.
Yep.
I don't want this thing to spit back a sample that maybe uses textures. I want it to be real simple. So what I decided was let's go ahead and tell it, and I don't know what this is going to do. Let's go ahead and tell it use colored vertexes. So don't try to create some graphic, which I don't think it would do anyway. Don't try to point me to a sample that says like, hey, go download this texture somewhere. I just want a colored cube, and let the 3D card put the colors on each pixel instead of what happens when we play most games. If you're looking like a tree, that's a 3D mesh, and then there's a texture over top of it, and there's normal mapping. I don't want any of that.
Okay.
And then let's see. Use vertices from the vertex position color. Create a demo program. Let's say I don't think this is going to be a problem in C#. Let's see. Using the MonoGame framework, how about I say that shows a spinning 3D cube. This is a pretty common hello world for 3D.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm hoping that my saying this doesn't. Let's see what it does. Let's see what it does. Here we go. Here's the fun part. Sure, here's an example program that shows a spinning 3D cube using the MonoGame framework in C#. It uses vertices from the vertex position color class to define the cube. I think it sort of inferred that. I didn't say that. So nice. And it's going now. setting up vertices for the cube. Now here, this will be interesting. Okay, let's think about a cube now, just in geometry. How many vertices, how many vertices do you need to define a cube? If you know. 8, good, awesome. And it's defined 8 there. And now the reason why these are called colored vertices is that in 3D programming, one way is if you color a vertex, then what you're saying is go to that spot and put this color there, and then go to this other spot, put that color there, go to the other spot, put that color there. But then for all of the pixels in between, it's going to interpolate between the 3 colors. So it kind of creates a gradient look.
Is that why the matrix was there?
So the matrix here, let's see, what is it doing here? It says set up indices for the cube. Oh, it's doing it different from how it did last time. It is using, I think it's going to use something different. So that's cool. So what it's doing here is it's saying, let's define a vertex that lives at negative x of 1, y of 1. So we're going to the left 1, we're going up 1, and then we're coming forward 1. Actually, we might be going back 1. Because if I remember correctly, well, we're in OpenGL. We're in OpenGL, so we might be going forward 1, because I don't remember if OpenGL, which way the coordinate system goes for the z-axis. But it's not going to end up mattering. Then what it's doing is it's saying, okay, now set up indices for the cube. So an index array in a lot of 3D programming is where you basically say, first I'm going to give you a bunch of vertexes, and then I'm going to tell you, here, start with vertex 0, then start with 1, then start with 2. So this is mapping out of this array, basically. But it's doing something different here, because it's just making like a strip of indices, like basically saying, you know, I'm going to want you to start at 0, go to 1, go to 2. But it's like, well, what are you doing? Well, let's skip down to the end. It didn't quite finish it. So this has happened to me each time where it doesn't quite finish it. And so what I do is I come here and I say, I think you could probably say other things, but I'm being really polite and I'm saying, please continue. And it tries to finish it. And I think that's what it's doing. That's what it's doing here, drawing the cube using a basic effect. And it's gotten a little confused with some of its formatting, but we can cut and paste all this stuff. And what does it end up doing? So it says, we're going to draw primitives, and I'm going to give you a triangle list. So it turns out that there are different ways to send vertexes. When I say to the graphics card, it's sort of true, but there are different ways to send vertices to the framework, which then are going to turn around and send it to the graphics card. This is a triangle list, which means the way you read through this index array is you literally say, start where I told you vertex 0 is, go to where I told you vertex 1 is and draw, go to where I told you vertex 2 is and draw. That's a triangle. Then for your next triangle, go to where I told you 1 was, go to where I told you 3 was, go to where I told you 2 was. That's a triangle. And if we do a little bit of math, let's see, there's 6 rows, there's 6 in each row. So that's defining 12 triangles is what it's doing. And this is a nice triangle list. And so what this code down here at the end is saying is I am now giving you a list, a primitive list of vertices. Oh, and by the way, there's 8 of them. And I want you to draw 12. I want you to draw triangles from this list, and I want you to draw 12 of them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, it's a little weird because it's getting all thrown at you at once. But now I think what we do is we just, and then I love how at the end it's like, hey, here's my explanation. Pretty cool. So I think we just want to copy this code in now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, actually, I think I can just say copy code. So boom, copied. Let's head back to here. And we're going to, so long, game one. And here we go. This code is not complete because I got to do a little bit more copying.
Yep.
But let's go back to the answer. And when I said, please continue, it gave us this, which we're going to need. So let's paste that in. and I can, we'll reformat it later, but if I do Control-Shift-I, it reformats. Still incomplete. So let's head back. Then for some reason, it got a little weirded out. Oh, no, that was the end of it. Just the end of the draw, the ending there. So let's go ahead and get that in there. And I'll use Control-Shift-I in Linux. Looks like we're missing a final. We were missing a final curly brace. Let's see. Did ChatGPT just miss it or did I miss it?
No, it's in the down.
Yeah.
It's
one. Here it is. One more. Yeah. It just didn't quite make it in the box. And then it might be interesting to grab this and then say, let's just go put it in a comment. It's not super important, but it's essentially telling you how it works. Now, what isn't going to work about this? Well, first of all, what isn't going to work is the namespace is different. MonoGame demo is not the namespace for this project. So I do have to change that to my game. I suppose I could have put that in there just because that's the default namespace that was in this project. It's the entry point it's looking for. It's the game class it's looking for. That's the only change I should have to make.
Right.
Now the question is, does it work?
Yeah.
So here we are in Linux asking ChatGPT to give us a demo of a spinning cube. And wow, look at that. And so I've tried this before and it's made some mistakes. But today it nailed it.
Yeah.
So when we talk about colored vertices, I kind of tried to explain it earlier, but when we defined like this vertex right here, well, I guess you can't really see it right here because when my mouse goes away when but when you see the yellow vertex going by, that's because we defined that vertex to be yellow, but we didn't define every pixel of the cube. So it is literally interpolating between the four colors on every cube, on every really the three colors of every triangle. That's why you can see the line through each triangle. It's interpolating. And then the code here, if I go back to the code, it's doing something real simple in update. Is it saying, hey, let's rotate the angle. We're going to rotate the cube by just basically taking how much game time has gone by in total and just saying that's the angle. And because angles wrap, if the total seconds is 180, then rotate it 180 degrees. And if it's 1,800, well, that's okay. Rotate it that much. But to us, because it's updating, it's basically drawing this as fast as it can. What it feels like to us is a cube that's spinning at a constant rate. And that just worked.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, except for the little pasting, but you can't fault for that. That's web stuff. So
yeah, and I think so. I do not have a subscription to OpenAI, which you get a slightly better interface, and I think it's doing a slightly better job. I could have also asked this in Bing Chat, just to see that result. Yeah, and I'm actually really impressed.
As am I, seeing that, and I've seen over the last couple of weeks, I've seen some pretty cool demos of some things that are happening with it. This is not a direction I thought to go in, and it's awesome you're sharing this because this is pretty. Now it comes back to, well, what if that's the exam question, right? How do I?
Oh, sure. So I wasn't really watching a lot of the chat, but we had look, beyond here lies nothing made it. Thank you so much. This cube reminds me of a project I did with OpenGL in 1998. This was a very common XNA getting started back in the day. I thought I was going to have to head over to the whiteboard because what I can show you is I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and I am going to rename this just to be like something else. And then I'm going to show you what I thought it might do because I tried this twice before our little talk today, and it came up with a different example. I mean, it's very similar. But it turns out that it went through and it said, hey, let's hear the vertices, here are the faces, and it kind of seems to have gotten lost a little bit. And I think it's funny that it's complaining. Is it because I don't know why it's complaining?
Because you have two game ones.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. So let's just comment this code out. And now we don't complain anymore. So this is what it did last night. And I thought it was going to mean heading over to the whiteboard to show, okay, what it got wrong is it didn't quite get the vertices right. Oh, look at this.
Huh.
Is that the one I fixed? Oh, yes, it is the one I fixed. Sorry.
That's okay. Do you know what you fixed?
I do. Yeah, I know what I fixed. So do is come in here and say this was ChatGPT's response, except I got to change the namespace. And so the first time I ran it and asked it to do this, it's a little off. And what's happened is when it was mapping the vertices, it made some mistakes.
Yeah.
It made some little mistakes, and we're actually seeing the backside of some of the triangles. And in 3D programming, we don't render the backside of triangles. I know that sounds weird, but it turns out there is a user-facing side of a triangle and a non-user-facing side of a triangle. We don't render those just to save time and space, and that's why in 3D programming the polygons are always closed. And if this might maybe seem familiar, you've played a game and you've seen some weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably some kind of error, either geometry error or texture error, where you're like, whoa, why am I suddenly seeing black, or why am I seeing something weird like that? Well, and so what I thought we might have to do is head over to the whiteboard and talk about like why these vertices weren't mapped correctly, and maybe even map them ourselves, which might be an interesting exercise sometime. But congratulations, ChatGPT just nailed it. And I can come back over here. I can get rid of this guy. We don't really need that. Gonna rename it back to game 1 and uncomment everything. And then of course we're working again. So I've thought a lot about maybe an interesting way to learn things by asking it for simple programs, and then you can go through it and say like, I see, it did something here, and now maybe I understand why, maybe I don't understand why, maybe I can go look up the documentation, whatever.
I mean, not having seen XNA in a while, and certainly never seeing MonoGame, I could be pretty confident that if I wanted to get started, I could now, and probably it would be interesting to see how much it's aware of other languages, right? I mean, hey, we've been talking about learning Go, right? It's one of those things where, hey, help me give me the Hello World app for Go. And all the dependencies I need.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you have a little bit of experience, little things like for example, I'm trying to think of a good example for this. I don't really have a good one. You know what might be interesting, as I don't necessarily need to go from now rewrite the I don't program to use a TriangleFan. I don't. This will be interesting. So we talked about a triangle list where basically we're in the indices, in this indices array, we're saying, and you could think of it like, remember logo or using the turtle, like saying, hey, I defined for you where all these vertices were. So go to where I told you 0 was, and then go to 1, go to 2. And you have to do that in clockwise order to the viewer, because otherwise that's why you got the no triangle.
Right.
So it said go 0, 1, 2, then go to 1, 3, 2. Well, when you think about it, after you finish drawing a triangle, it only takes one other point, technically, to say where the next triangle, to define the next triangle. It's the 2 previous points plus that one. Right. So to be even more efficient, because efficiency is so important when you're trying to hit 120 frames per second in modern games where You always say like, well, computers and GPUs will get faster. Sure. And then we'll just throw more polygons at it. So we never have enough. The buckets get bigger. We pour more water in. So you're more efficient, technically more efficient by using a triangle fan and saying, okay, 0, 1, 2. Well, now you really only have to go to 3, and there's your next triangle. And now you only have to go to here, and there's your next triangle. And now you have to go to here. So it would be a much smaller index array.
Right.
I have not tried this. Here's the rewritten program using TriangleFan. Same vertices. Look how much smaller the index array is. And it's kind of what I said. Go 0, 1, 2, then go to 3, then go back to 0, then go over to 4, then go to 5, go to 6, go to 7, go to 4, and you're done. Because the vertices don't change. They're still where they are. They still have the same colors.
Yep.
And I should come down here to this section, and it should say that we are now drawing with a triangle fan. There it is.
Yep.
We're drawing a triangle fan, but we're still drawing 8 vertices and 12 triangles is what it should say. Oh, it's for some reason I'm having trouble moving this there. Oh, 14. Oh, interesting. 14.
What were you thinking it should be?
I thought it was 12. You know what? It could be that it's been a while since I've used this method with a triangle fan. Maybe what that's telling you is to consider 14 vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. That may still be correct. The way we're going to find out is I think I don't have to copy all of it. Those are famous last words. But I think, first I got to kill this. I think if I use the smaller triangle fan list, which it doesn't seem to like for some reason. Oh, because it switched from int to short. So let's just switch that back to int. That should be no problem. I don't think any of these changed, but let's double check. I don't think any of the vertices changed. I'm going to have to scroll over just a little bit if I can get it to... Oh, I can. Can't I?
No, that's the stop whatever button.
Oh, I see. Oh, it did the whole thing this time. Well, except that it didn't finish describing it. I think these are all the same. Red, green, yellow, blue, cyan, magenta. Looks quick run through the vertices. Looks it is slightly different.
A little different, yeah.
I should grab it then. I should grab it just in case. It's still using vertex position color vertices. So let's go ahead and grab that. And then I think everything else matches up. Rotation angle code did not change. Creating the rotation matrix did not change. But we did change our arguments to draw index user primitives. Okay. Hopefully that's all that changed. That would be cool. And who knows? It may make some mistakes. I may have made some mistakes copying. But, oh, the triangle fan blew up here.
Is there a namespace we need?
Primitive type does not contain. Could be. Head up to the top and take a look here of our ChatGPT response. Except that I gotta draw user index primitives. I wonder if it's possible. Let's see. No,
those are good.
Makes me wonder if they have to be shorts. No, it's complaining about an enum. Primitive type triangle fan. Okay.
Triangle list.
Triangles. Do they not have... See, triangle strips are different. Triangle strips are different. So I'm concerned now that since we're not seeing this,
right?
That
but the other one
doesn't have it. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Just that there was another triangle in there, and it, I mean, you can kind of see how it might be a list, right? A list of triangles.
That's what we started with, though. We started with the triangle list.
Oh.
Triangle
Okay.
strips
Never
are
mind.
slightly more... Doesn't like this, though. Primitive type does not contain a definition. Oh, but that's fine because I... So it's building it, and it took that. There is a difference between a triangle strip and a triangle fan. So I'm concerned that we're going to get something that's not right. Awesome to see stash. Yeah. So I'm concerned that I sabotage this by changing it, and that what I'd want to do is go back to ChatGPT and say, okay, now use a triangle strip. They are different. In fact, you know, I wonder if I'll get a nice image difference between a triangle list, strip, and fan in graphics programming, something like that. I would love if I could just get a nice image. I don't know that I'm going to. I thought that would have been cool. Because it's triangle strips are the same. It's the same concept of that. The fan, you add 1 point to move on. I forget if a strip means that. Does a strip mean? I feel like a strip means add 1 point, and you have your next triangle. As you can see, it's been a little while. But yeah. Now try the same using a triangle strip. I mean, this is cool. It's like, sure, whatever. So we'll give this a shot when it comes through, and then I think we'll see where we're at. So it's probably tough to know, like I want to say like any questions, but some concept, like what concepts do you think like are coming through where before this you said, wow, I didn't know this about 3D programming?
Not having done a lot of 3D programming, the different ways you're doing the vertices, it makes sense when you start to think how the components need to think about it. But that part there just, you know, kind of blew my mind how much more direct that is to write out.
Yeah. And again, we could go to like a whiteboard and understand why. In fact, I think this is going to be even less vertices. And if I just remembered my 3D programming a little bit, then I could probably explain exactly why. Like I sort of can. It's been a while. And then this is now a triangle strip. And I don't know though, however, if this is going to be the same. So let me let it finish. Which it actually just got to it. 8 and 12, which I think that makes more sense to me. Because if I remember correctly, this, in fact, we can just go to IntelliSense. This is telling you, okay, primitive count, the number of primitive, which is a fancy way of saying triangles, the number of vertices. So a cube is still going to have 12.
Yeah.
So I think the other program might have had a little bit of a bug, you know, but if this one works, that would be very cool. What did we blow up for? Specified argument was out of range because, I didn't stop to see which argument. That was dumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0 through 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13. Oh, 13 doesn't sound right. Because I feel like you'd have to have 14. So it's possible that there's a bug here.
But we only did 12, right?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Do you need one more to be a complete triangle strip? I'm not sure. Did I not change that last line? No, I did. So I think that's going to be its complaint. Is it's going to say, how do I get 12 primitives? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which one is which? I was going to say it'd be nice if it told me which one. Specified argument was out of range. thought it might tell me which one, but it doesn't seem to
Doesn't
be.
look like it.
There's the vertex array. Here's the index array. 13 there, which is weird, but maybe okay. I wonder if I can cheat a little bit and tell it just to draw like the first 10 and we at least get something on screen. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to map out like what's wrong with the strip without stopping to think and getting a piece of paper.
Okay.
Yeah. And it may not be correct either. But
no, I mean, it certainly doesn't look like the other.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, it ran. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
It ran.
You got a result.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Totally off the wall. But yeah, to your point, that's so interesting to say like, hey, if maybe we're on the show and we're trying to learn something totally new and we get stuck, to just go ask and try to figure out what are the questions we would ask. Could you imagine back in the day, if people remember the show from so long ago, when we were stuck for an hour in Azure DevOps pipelines, purely because of the // in pathing in Linux?
Mm-hmm.
It would have been something to ask ChatGPT, like, what is wrong with this script? I just wonder, you know, what's wrong with this code?
Yeah. Interesting.
I don't know. We'll have to try to make some stuff up and go, so what's the bug in this code? And like, you know, just for example, well, I mean, I don't know how much more time we have, but give it a simple math app and say, well, actually, we could have it give us a math app and say, write a simple C# console app with adds 2 numbers using a add function that takes 2 integers. So this is going to basically do what I expect.
Right.
I'm sure. But here's what I'm thinking. Now. I'm thinking take this and then stop generating. And then there's a way to say I want a new chat, which I think tells it.
We're starting over.
Oh, yeah. What is the bug in the following code? Okay. And then let's make this a minus. The bug in the code is that the method is subtracting num2 from num1 instead of adding, which I kind of thought it would get.
Wow. Well, that's pretty.
Well, I didn't think of that until just now, but I'm like, why wouldn't it figure it out?
I mean,
now,
because syntactically, there's nothing wrong with it.
Sure,
except that it's not adding.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking, if we have a problem on the show, can we figure out how to ask these questions to get our problem resolved?
Nice. We now have a 4th member of the show.
Yeah, right. Welcome to the Dev Talk Show. We got Rich, Andy, Al, and by the way, our perma guest, ChatGPT.
It's like when you do a talk show and the producer comes in and says, "Hey, what did we get wrong in the show?" Right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. So there you go. I had a feeling that would work. I just did. I thought, let me just get an add method. Let me throw it back at it. Good point here from Dashi saying writing a good prompt can be tough. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And then Chops wants to know what's wrong with his audio today, which is, man, too bad we didn't have ChatGPT back when I was trying to configure config.sys with IRQs so that I could play X-Wing and then switch over and play a different game.
Yeah, allocate my memory so that it goes in the right spaces.
Yeah. Write me an auto exec bat that switches between config sys for the following 4 games. So
nice. This is cool.
Oh, this is so interesting. I love this comment here. Sometimes I'll sit down with some paper and write a letter to ChatGPT trying to figure out what will work, then eventually try it in the chat window. That's great. So yeah, here we are. We had a lunchtime dev talk show, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Might edit it down a little bit and put it back up on YouTube. But what'd you all think? Thank you all for showing up impromptu. We didn't announce anything. We didn't say to anybody, and we don't know when we'll do this again. But we may. This may be a pattern because we've had some trouble on weeknights. So
Yeah, and we figure we'll always have lunch. So
yeah, right.
There's that.
Let's you hope so. So
Awesome.
hey, tell us what you think. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like, you can comment, you can subscribe, you can tell us what other things you'd like us to try. And it doesn't have to be using OpenAI. It can be doing anything, because if we don't know, we always used to say to people, if we don't know, we'll find out. We'll get somebody on who can tell us. And now we don't have to do that anymore. If we don't know, we're just going to ask ChatGPT. So
sounds like a plan.
All right, Rich. Well, it was great to see you. Great to see every one of you. And we'll see you all next time on the Dev Talk Show.